I am not making this up. There was a voice that called to me from beyond the grave. I heard it clearly as day. The year was 1999, and I was working as a hospice nurse. One of my patients was a 62-year-old woman who had been admitted to the hospice a few weeks earlier. Her cancer had spread from her colon to her liver, and she was in a lot of pain. She had been an only child, but her family had moved away after her husband died 5 years earlier. So now, here I was, her only visitor. On the day in question, I had just finished giving her a shower, and was sitting by her bed talking about all kinds of things, reminiscing about her life, telling her about my life. Then, suddenly she stopped speaking, turned her head toward the door, and listened intently. I followed her gaze and saw nothing. "What is it?" I asked her. "Is someone there?" She didn't respond right away, but then she slowly turned back to me and said in a very weak voice, "Who's that?" I thought she was asking me a question, so I told her I didn't know. She then closed her eyes and went back to sleep. About an hour later, I came back into the room and woke her up for her afternoon nap. She was confused at first. Then she turned her head again and said, "Who's there? Who's that?" Again, I told her I didn't know, and again, she went back to sleep. This happened a third time, and each time she asked the same question, "Who's there?" Each time I told her I didn't know, and each time she went back to sleep. Now, I wasn't thinking it was anything supernatural. I mean, people can hear things sometimes, especially when they're terminally ill, but still, I was curious. So after her third nap, I decided to investigate. I checked the door to make sure no one was outside. Then I walked around the room to see if I could hear anything. But of course, I couldn't because no one was there. As I was listening intently, I heard a knock on the window. I ran to the window and looked out to see a little girl standing on the lawn outside. She was wearing a Victorian nightgown, by the way, the kind with the little puffed sleeves, and she was knocking on the window with her little finger. Then she disappeared. I looked everywhere for her, but she was gone. I even went outside to look for her, but of course I couldn't find her. When I went back into the room, my patient was sitting up in bed asking me, "Who was that?" I told her I didn't know what she was talking about, but she insisted that I had seen a little girl outside. I said, "No, you must have been dreaming." But then she started to cry and said, "No, I wasn't dreaming. I saw her too. I saw her in the garden." Then she went back to bed and closed her eyes. And that was the last time I ever heard her voice.